Hello, and welcome to another video. If the angle seems weird, it's because I have my camera on a tripod on my desk, which is a little bit higher than it's supposed to be, because one of the legs is broken and if I put it on the ground, it'll fall over. Today we're going to be talking about color, and I'm going to give a quick disclaimer, really, just overall. I never took color theory class. I was in art school for like a year and a half and I dropped out before we did anything color theory related, so I don't actually know anything about actual color theory. These are all just my opinions on color and like things that I've picked up over the years and things that I think look nice, but this is not by all means like the end all be all rules for doing colors or anything like that. And honestly, like, if you have any other tutorials that you want to link in the comments that are really good at color theory or going over color theory and stuff about colors, feel free to post them there, because I would love to learn more. This is what I know, and like works most of the time, but yeah, I want to learn more too. So, you know, I just as a general disclaimer, I don't actually know for sure what I'm talking about. This is just stuff that I think looks nice. So with that out of the way, let's just get into some colors. So the first thing we're going to want to go over is the actual colors themselves. We've got, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, cyan, and magenta. Basically, the way that I like to arrange colors when I'm doing anything is I like to try and keep yellow as like the lightest color and then blue as the darkest color. And the reason that I do that is because if you turn them into grayscale, you'll notice that they get darker. Colors get darker the closer they get to blue, and colors get lighter the closer they get to yellow. We have magenta and teal over here as outliers because they don't really follow the rules in that, but I'll go over that in a minute. So basically, whenever I'm making color palettes or shading colors, I pick the color that is the base color for what I'm shading, and if I need highlights, I try to go towards yellow, and if I need shadows, I try to go towards blue. This works for both sides of the color palette. I think it works a little bit better on the warm color sides than it does the cool color sides, but that's, just up to interpretation, and depending on how you use your colors, it can work out a little bit differently. So the reason why cyan and magenta are outliers in this little color gradient thing is because the way they appear on screen is brighter than how they're going to actually appear in real life or in print. When we're looking at a screen, we're seeing colors in RGB, not how they actually are going to appear, which is RGB is a lot brighter because it's light-based colors rather than ink-based colors. And this is why I switched out cyan for more of a greeny teal color, and why I switched out magenta for more of a red-purple color, because these colors just tend to follow the gradient a little bit better than the light-based colors do. Here's a quick example of print colors versus digital colors. So when you're doing print colors, you are basically layering up different amounts of cyan, yellow, and magenta, as well as black, to create an image. In screen space, you can see that like magenta plus yellow equals red, magenta plus cyan equals blue, and yellow plus cyan equals green, and then all the colors together equal black. This is for the most part true when you're doing printed media, but they do include actual black ink when doing printed designs, because color that actually comes out of these three being combined is sort of a really, really dark gray and not a true black. So they tend to add true black in to sort of like actually kick up the contrast in what's going on in the image. Screen space colors, on the other hand, are made out of light that comes out of LEDs, which are made up of, I believe, red, green, and blue diodes. I could be wrong, but that's what I know of them. Basically, when you mix different wavelengths of light together, you get different colors. So you can have red plus green equals yellow, red plus blue equals magenta, and blue plus green equals cyan. And then all three together in 100% would equal white light. which is how you get colors on your computer screen. And this is also why when you have a digital image that you then print out, it ends up different colors when it's printed, because you can't print with light, you can only print with ink. So colors on your computer monitor are going to be a lot brighter and more vivid than they are going to be when they're actually printed out. So here's something that I would refer to as like a standard gradient for colors, where the darker you get, you're just adding in black, and the lighter you get, you're just adding in white. When it comes to shading, I don't tend to use this kind of shading just because it tends to look really, just a little bit muddy and kind of not very exciting. Really basic, and it kind of reminds me of like lighting studies that you see in art class when they're doing like the black and white shapes on a flat plane. It just kind of gets a little bit boring and stale, and it's not quite as, the colors don't pop as much as they can. So here's a bunch of gradients which are following the color brightness rule that I try to use when I'm doing art. For red, the darker it gets, the more purple it gets, the lighter it gets, the more orange. Orange gets darker, turns more red. As it gets lighter, it turns more yellow. Yellow can go more orange as it gets darker, and I just add white to yellow because it's kind of the lightest color, and that seems to look alright. Greens tend to go more blue and more yellow when they get lighter. Teal also goes more blue when it gets darker, and then more greenish yellow when it gets lighter. Blue, like this shade of blue, can get more almost teal a little bit as it gets lighter, and more deep blue as it gets darker. True blue can get more light blue, I guess, as it gets lighter, and then I just add like a much darker shade of blue when I'm shading with blue, or when I am shading a blue tone. Purple gets more blue as it gets darker and gets more pink as it gets lighter. Magenta also kind of does the same thing, it just gets more purple and then more like a reddish color. And then for the two, I brought these two out here, the outlier, the cyan and magenta, just to show them as well, and I tend to put more blue into them when shading darker. And then for the cyan, I add more like almost a yellow bluish white, or a greenish blue white. And then for the magenta, I add like a more of a lighter pink tone. You can also go the complete opposite direction and basically not follow the color brightness at all whatsoever and get some really weird contrasting color gradients. Generally speaking, I don't use these color gradients because I think they look kind of weirdly wrong somehow, but it's all up to interpretation. Like if you want to have a nice unique mixture of both things, it can look really nice combining the two in a single piece of artwork. As you can see, I've just done pretty much like the opposite for all of the colors, where like the color that I would use to make it darker is instead used for the highlight, and the color that I usually would use for the highlight is instead used to shade them and make them darker. I do want to talk about both yellow and blue really quick. I know that yellow was at the top and it was like kind of in the middle, and then blue is at the bottom and was also in the middle. I know that like classically speaking, yellow is considered to be a warm color and blue is considered to be a cool color, but I kind of consider them to be neutral colors, at least as far as like shading goes, because I feel like both yellow and blue can be shaded with both warm colors and cool colors, and both look really nice and unique. For yellow, you can shade it with orange and have it be really warm and cozy. You can also shade it with green and have it kind of almost be like, it just reminds me of like lemon lime soda sort of, but it also looks just as nice as the orange one does. And then for the blue, you can have the highlights be more purpley, and that looks kind of nice, almost like a sunset. You can also have the highlights be more tealy, and it just looks like a bright, sunny day, kinda. Like, I just feel like these colors can be treated as neutrals a little bit, and I don't know, it's just kind of nice, and I like that about them. And then here's another example of using the different types of shading styles for a base color. I used orange here. You can see the standard, it's just shaded with black and white, so the orange just gets darker as it gets over to the shadow area, and then it gets lighter as it gets to the highlight, just with white and black being mixed in. Following the color gradients that I usually go by, it gets more darker red as it gets into the shadow, and it gets more yellow as it gets to the highlight. And then not following the color gradients that I usually go by, using the exact same shade of orange, it gets more green when it gets to the shadows, and it gets more pinkish when it gets to the highlight. And like I said, I usually like to go with the colors following the gradients, but like you can also mix in these kind of gradients along with these to get a really unique mixture of colors going on. Alright, so that's pretty much it. I might go into another color picking video in the future. I hope that this one helped people out understanding at least how I go about colors. And again, I never went to color theory class, like I never learned anything about color theory or anything on that, so if you have any videos that you want to share in the comments that do go about color theory and have a lot of good information in them, go ahead and share them, because I want to take a look at them too and learn more about it, and maybe I'll do more videos about this in the future when I learn more about actual color theory. But anyways, yeah, see you guys in the next one. Bye!